Okay, let's start with a smile, Tom. So, hello everybody to the weekly Otterly AI podcast, the future of AI-based search. And today we are discussing a really interesting topic. Actually, we started last week, but this week we want to continue with some practical tips on get AI to mention your brand. And yeah, hi Tom, how are you today?
Hi Klaus, I'm super great. It's sunny here, and I really look forward diving deep with you into this topic. It's a big topic, right? So, yeah, I know you and I discussed over Slack and also in this pre-meeting to our recording today, what marketers can really do about the new future, this future where AI search experiences are a thing, right? ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI overview. And I know you dove deep over the weekend, I believe, in an interesting blog article. Maybe you wanna start off the conversation by giving us a rundown on the disruptions in marketing and search and what you found in this blog article.
Absolutely, Tom. Absolutely. So, one quote that I really love to just give that as a starting point is it's if you are the smartest person in the room, leave the room immediately and find another room. So that's what I always believed in. And for me, it's very easy to stay in the room. So, but in that case, this was the reason why we look for other like people experts writing about this topic as it is such a um, impactful topic. And actually I wrote an article, read an article from Andy Crestodino, and he's from the Orbit Media agency, and he's writing great content about this topic. And what is funny is when he started his article, he was even talking before this was pre-AI. So I love this like starting point of his sentence, and I also strongly believe there is a before and after AI period of time to
Yeah.
see. And he said that there is a lot of excitement and anxiety for marketers right now, yeah, because there is this new AI topic and they have to learn if it's a threat or if it's some is helpful for their work. And he also said, which I totally agree to, is that there is probably no marketing channel that is so much impacted as search. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and the future is currently also unclear. Yeah. Even Google, the big behemoth that was always the strong rock in the in the sea, and you always knew that Google is the monopoly and is there for you for the search. And now there are so many new topics and technologies coming that might disrupt even this huge company. And he mentioned, just to start with that, and then let's dive into
Yeah.
each of the topics and discuss that, is like the first is the disruption, which we kind of, talked last week about, is that the Google AI overview, which is the new part in the search currently available in US and UK and Australia, and it's probably available in the world very soon everywhere in the world, is like the AI summary of any question that you have. So search becomes more like an answer to questions than just search results where you click and then you go to some other page. And the AI overview kind of reduces the organic traffic to your website. So that's
Yeah.
one disruption that is happening, and which is a big problem for many companies as they are building content. And the glossaries tactics are probably not working anymore. I have to confess, I also did some glossaries in my life. Yeah. The second one is the flood of AI generated content will not only overwhelm users, but also the algorithms in the beginning. Yeah. And that's the question, what will happen then? Is this might also kind of impact the users themselves? Are they so overwhelmed that they leave the platforms and so on? So this is the second disruption. And the third one, which I strongly believe in too, is AI chatbots are an alternative to Google search. So, you know, what if any tool, your car, everything, every kind of technical item device that you have suddenly has an AI bot and can answer your questions and help you find something. So suddenly you
Mm.
will not go home and remember that you were looking for the new vacuum cleaner and you want to search for an alternative, but you already were discussing that topic with your AI bot, yeah, and
Yeah.
it was giving you a suggestion. So these are the three things, and maybe let's start with the first one that Google AI
Yeah.
overviews are reducing organic traffic to websites. And what can you do? As we said, we want to know how can I get the AI to mention my brand? So, Tom,
Yeah.
what should I do?
Let's breathe for a moment. Those are three big disruptions. I already feel the
Absolutely.
goosebumps as a marketer. No, but jokes aside, I mean, you said the following statement, Klaus. You said Google AI overviews is decreasing organic traffic. It's a simple statement. It's a hard statement. So let's unwrap it. Why is that the case? The first statement or the first answer is because a Google AI overview is shown above the organic rankings, right? So as a user, as a consumer, I do see an AI generated answer before I do see all the blue links that lead to all the different websites. So the first question that's in my mind is, how do I, as a brand, as a marketer, know for which keywords, for which search queries Google is showing an AI overview and for which they aren't? And the reality is, if we look at this question right now, nobody really knows, right? So nobody really knows what percentage of keywords do get an AI overview versus what not. Why is that the case? First, Google is not telling us anything, right? Google is not disclosing any numbers on how often they show an AI overview for all the keywords. Second, there are different statistics out there, be it from SEMrush, SE Ranker, Bright Edge, other unique primary research that has been done where those researchers analyzed a certain set of keywords to then estimate and visualize how often an AI overview is shown. The reality is that research kind of shows an AI overview in 2% to all the way up to, I believe, 50% of keywords. So it's a huge range, right? Again, we don't know, right? What should
Yeah.
I do with this huge range? So at the end of the day, with that challenge ahead that we have right now as brands, I would say you don't need to care, right? Because all you need to care about is your own set of keywords, the keywords you as a marketer, as an SEO person, monitor week by week, month to month. And for that set of keywords, there are tools out there. And that's why you and I built Otterly, right? So we can give such a tool to marketers where they understand, is an AI overview visible for my set of keywords? And we've worked with some customers and users on Otterly where different companies and different industries are seeing completely different AI overview results. In some industries, it's even like up to 50%, 55% of all keywords, where suddenly there is an AI overview. And when we talk to those marketers and those brands, most often they tell us, yes, organic traffic is declining. And now we know the reason. The reason is because in 50% of all keywords, Google is showing an AI generated answer. So, which brings me to the second part. Now we know, and if you go to Otterly, you will find that yourself as well. But now we know how often an AI overview is shown. So the next question is, what can I do to be more visible in an AI overview, right? Because the mechanics, the UX, the UI of an AI overview is different than an organic ranking. And a couple of questions there, right? And a couple of statements. The first statement is links are way less prominent right now in an AI overview than they are on the organic results pages, right? So the click-through
Absolutely.
rate to your website will be lower, most likely, if there is a link to your website in that AI overview. That's the first one. The second one is how visible are you as a brand in those AI overviews? Because the reality is, if we look at that zero-click reality where less and less users will click on certain links on those experiences. What matters so much more is my brand mentioned? Is my product mentioned? How is it mentioned? What's the sentiment of my brand compared to competitors? So I think the first thing I would really, and then I'm gonna pause it because I would like to see what you think about this. But the first tip I would say, Klaus, is you have to understand what's going on inside those AI overviews from a brand perspective, from a sentiment perspective, and don't care too much about the links. Yes, the links are important because those links are relevant on how your brand is positioned. But the end goal in an AI overview at the end of the day should be to understand how your brand is conveyed, how your products are conveyed and portrayed, and what the sentiment of your content is. And then you can start optimizing and going into the machine room and start working on your content, on your brand strategy, and so on. But yeah, zero
Yeah,
clicks and don't care less about the links is my first tip.
yeah.
What's your take,
I
Klaus?
mean,
What's your how do you reflect over the article based on that statement?
so I mean, what I liked parts of what the article mentioned, although I'm kind of I was not like, let's say, fully agreeing, or from my perspective, I saw that was not covering kind of the whole truth for me. And what I mean with that is like kind of in the article was mentioned that as you said, like the click-through rate decreases. Yeah. So probably that's one of the big challenges that search challenges and to attract visitors again through search to your website and they're declining. But this is not, which kind of this became clear through the article. I knew it, but I was not so aware. To me, is actually that's a trend that is happening for the last years. There
Mm,
was like feature
mm,
snippets in
yeah,
included and kind of what other users said and so on. So there are functional like there are features added to Google that kind of already have shown this trend of not going to your website, but actually staying on their assets. Because, at the end, at their assets, they earn money. They earn like ads. This is
yeah,
what,
yeah,
everyone like from Facebook. Maybe some of you are old enough to still know Facebook and Instagram and all of them. They try not to add too many links. In Instagram, you can only
yeah,
add links in your bio because they don't want you to leave the
yeah,
asset. So that's an important part, and
yeah,
this trend is already happening for a longer time. And that
yeah,
so on the one hand, I see, okay, you should build more content, which comes from the article, which I agree is like you should build more content that is kind of visitor website intent. So that means the AI tries to answer simple questions. And if you're covering other kind of content, like, if someone is doing a deep research or
mm,
needs some
mm,
opinion or
mm,
um, wants to dive deeper into some, yeah, kind of
yeah,
finding something out about your products, then, or even commercial intents, they have a higher chance of getting clicks, and that's where, on the one hand, you should focus on, which is
yeah,
good strategy, I think. Actually, Spark Toro, I think, isn't it the product from Rand Fishkin?
yeah,
So they analyzed that actually like 60%, and it's the same in Europe and in the US, are
yeah,
not getting any clicks anymore, searches. I mean, this is a
yeah,
huge number. So
yeah.
yeah,
But to jump real quick in, Klaus, you're saying really interesting things in two ways, right? You're saying Google is becoming a walled garden, similar like Facebook, Instagram, right?
yeah,
And there are 60% of search queries that end up with no click because
yes,
Google intentions is more and more to keep users in the Google ecosystem, similar as Meta, Facebook, Instagram, and all of those social platforms, LinkedIn, try to keep users in their system. And
yeah,
there are even statistics out there that engagement will then go up, right? People will engage more on Google, will engage more in that ecosystem.
yeah,
And the other thing you're saying is go focus on those long tail keywords, on those commercial keywords and intents, because there people still click, right? There the other part is the 40%
Yeah.
of where their traffic is found is there, right? So you're also saying go and create content that captures that long tail keywords, that commercial interest, because that then directly converts on your website, right?
Yes, yes. The one thing that I haven't mentioned, what I initially started with, is that where I don't agree with the article, or I think that it's lacking some perspective, is that actually the answer of the AI over, also from the LLM of Google and the
Yeah.
AI. So LLM means large language model, and I'm often using it as a synonym for AI, or vice versa. Is that if you are not there, so if you're not
Mm,
thinking about the second step, like not only covering
mm,
the keywords that still get clicks, but also how to get your brand into this AI overview, I believe that in the long run you will lose because as we said, and that's the actually a little bit looking forward
mm,
into the third part is like chatbots, AI chatbots will take over some of the search traffic, and if you are not there, then your brand will not be mentioned. So I believe that you have to find out strategies, and that's
yeah.
what we said. Like Otterly.AI is covering rather the AI overviews and the perspective from AI based searches currently, and not so much about the traditional keywords which you do still in SEMrush and other tools like that. But you also need to think about how do I get into that. And just funny
Yeah.
fact aside, I believe that in the near future, there will even be advertising
Yeah.
in the responses of AI. That's, I think, the next step. So,
Google already announced that, I think, recently that
okay.
they will show Google search ads in Google AI overviews. So if you're a performance marketer, coming
Oh
soon
God.
to your Google Ads account.
Yeah, crazy, crazy. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
believe that that's the part. But yeah, maybe to just
Let's
let
talk maybe about the second part a bit, Klaus, because I think what you're saying, where and maybe Andy, if you're listening, we would also love to get your perspective on from your side. But what you're saying is, what can I do now? Which action steps can I undergo through as a marketer, as a brand, to be mentioned in those AI search experiences, right? Because to the point you're making is, yes, the foundation is the LLMs, right? The large language models. And on top, there are like web scraping, web browsing capabilities now being added and part of all search experiences, right? So it's always that combination of LLM text output, content output with web browsing capabilities, be it on Google, ChatGPT from OpenAI. Perplexity has the same thing. So I guess we should talk about how can I optimize my brand to be mentioned in those AI overviews, ChatGPTs, and so
yeah.
on.
No, I think that, I mean, this includes basically also the third disruption, which we mentioned that AI chatbots will replace or come in addition, maybe to search engines. And as you mentioned, Perplexity AI is basically an LLM, kind of looking like a search engine. We know
Yeah,
that ChatGPT search is coming out or is already out in the US. So this is the new reality. And I mean, Perplexity is growing 30% per month, which is
mm,
crazy. I mean, is
mm,
it really
yeah,
kind of taking away market shares from Google? Probably not yet, but it is growing. And there is like something that you have to keep an eye on, and all the big marketers and, like Andy, or last time we talked about Will Reynolds, they mentioned that they are also looking at their analytics data and check how much traffic comes actually from these kind of AI-based searches or tools, and it's growing. It has a really
yeah,
high trajectory in the grow. And now coming to the topic, what can I do? I can list some of the parts that I read here, and then add some. Maybe you can add some of
yeah,
the
sure.
of what you are aware of right now, Tom. So, I mean, first of all, I think what is important is make your website available for the AI robots. So, in the beginning, I saw these conversations about, oh my God, we should block that and we should put
Yeah,
that immediately
yeah,
into the robots.txt, which is the
yeah,
file that kind of allows or disallows bots to crawl your website. And you should immediately allow that for the
yeah. Fun fact, Klaus, did you know that I think 10% of the top 1,000 websites in the world are blocking ChatGPT right now? So it's the same stupid conversations we have right now as we did with the Google bots 20 years
Yeah,
ago.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
So
I think
not
that,
blocking is obviously your recommendation.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, of course, if your content is your value, you're always kind of defending your content against kind of any misuse of your license agreements, which I understand. I think that's one problem. I have no perfect solution for it.
yeah,
Um, and we will figure out also things like you said, it was the same with Google, and there were also kind of new ways of how to use that, but maybe you can use that for your advantage. I think one thing that's kind of important is that AI, from my perspective, what I know as of is like it looks for schemes or kind of repeatable kind of if you like, let me phrase it otherwise. So if you, for example, write something about yourself or your
mm,
brand, and it's kind of something that the AI will find in a similar way everywhere else, it will start believing it. I think
mm,
you maybe you
mm,
can mention about the Reddit story
yeah,
that you came up today.
yeah,
How you can also kind of use that in a negative way. If you're
yeah,
repeating something very often, it becomes the truth. And you mentioned, as far as I can remember,
mm,
that some people in the UK
yeah,
they tried to get people away from their favorite restaurants by writing a lot about other like the competitive competition
yeah,
in Reddit
yeah,
to get the tourists out of there.
yeah. Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah. I think people refer to this as laugh bombing. So, but let's once before I talk about this example, why does Reddit or why does user-generated content matter, right? Because the reason at the end of the day is that LLMs are trained on certain data sets, right? So to your point, what can I do to optimize my visibility? Don't block your own website structure, have a structured website, structured data, right? Everything you do from an SEO perspective in terms of structured data will also help the LLM understand your content better. Because if and different LLMs work differently or are trained on different sets of data, right? And but if we stay with OpenAI, for example, and what OpenAI publicly discloses is that their GPT-3 model, for example, was trained on a couple of sources. One is the common crawl, the internet, right? They scraped the internet, basically. Big part of the internet. They looked at book repositories, right? Think of the Google book library, and they scraped millions and millions of books to train their model on all of that data. But they also prioritized and trained their model on Wikipedia content. So Wikipedia is a very trusted source in that sense. I would translate it as a trusted source for the LLM. And last but not least, if you Google it or if you ChatGPT it, it's called Web Text 2, which is one source, which sounds a bit, what is Web Text 2? Web Text 2 are basically user-generated content pieces where they in particularly used Reddit content. Um, Actually, they mostly used Reddit content, I think, with more than two karma like points, like more than two
Yeah,
upvotes. So in another word, they basically trained the LLMs on Reddit postings and replies. So
yeah, yeah,
what happened in London recently? There is the story on the internet that Londoners were kind of upset with tourists flooding their favorite restaurants. So they created lots of love content on Reddit for certain, let's say, more generic global known restaurant companies and branches and franchisers. And then they flooded Reddit with lots of love content, lots of positive reviews and replies, and that led certain restaurants to be more visible on ChatGPT, but also on Google. So if tourists would Google what's the best steak restaurant in London, they would
Yeah,
find those generic franchise global brands over the, let's say, the small, hip, modern restaurants. So yeah,
damn.
in a
I have to
nutshell,
remember that for my next city trip.
in a nutshell, watch out the next time you're in London, Klaus, and you want to go to a steak restaurant.
Yeah.
Don't trust ChatGPT or Google too much, but jokes
Mm,
aside, right? That's the reality we find ourselves in as a marketing team, as brands, on what can you do about it. You can optimize, you can analyze Wikipedia, see how you're more visible in there. You can look at Reddit, you can activate your community to be more active on Reddit and other user-generated forums. But yeah, it sounds basic, but that's really what you can do in order to be better found on ChatGPT or Google AI if you like.
yeah. But well, I mean, I that's a good. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Tom, and I think that's a valid topic of especially how the AIs and LLMs were and probably are trained right now. However,
Yeah,
for many of us, kind of using Wikipedia as a channel for growing our business is hard because, as we know, the administrators there try to avoid that you can use it as a marketing platform. So there is also the question, what
yeah,
can I do in addition to that, apart from Reddit? So
yeah,
Reddit probably becomes more and more a source
yeah,
for kind of also for marketers, but which on the other hand, and that's kind of including a little bit the second disruption that Andy mentioned is that the flood of AI content might also kind of flood these kind of platforms
yeah,
because
yeah,
marketers want to be there. So that's
yeah,
really hard then and it's kind of the content quality doom loop, as he mentioned.
yeah,
However, uh, connecting a little bit to what I said before is like one or things that you can do as a marketer. At least he mentions that I didn't see too much proof in his article. So some things are also maybe wishful thinking. But what he mentions is, first of all, publish your value prop, and I think that's what I meant with you said the data sets, LLMs are trained on data sets, and if your data set is kind of what you stand for, what your brand stands for, and it's kind
yeah,
of repeated in the same way on different platforms, the
yeah,
LLM will be more likely to believe and trust that it's a valid source and that you stand for. So it's also clear what your brand stands for. So that's why it might be, or hopefully will be mentioned. Being in different directories or on review platforms could also be very valuable in the
yeah,
future as LLMs will trust the rankings there,
yeah,
G2,
yeah,
TripAdvisor, etc., etc. So that's, I
yeah,
think, also a good one.
yeah,
As kind of, guest blogging might be also become more valid the more
true.
you are. And I mean, it's basically the same what Google does today, but they will also come back to
Yeah,
that topic
yeah,
that if you are like if different platforms write in the same way about you, they will take that into the consideration and use that. That also includes kind of collaboration with
yeah,
influencers. I think that
yeah,
because influencers are hard to kind of be an AI faked, as we can call it. So I think using influencers for trustworthy content is also a strategy
yeah,
that becomes more and more important. And also videos and podcasts with transcripts. So the AI, it's easier for the AI, but nowadays basically ChatGPT can read videos and transcribe audio automatically. So that will also be not a problem in the future. And but it's a trustworthy source as it is harder to hack for AIs to kind except if you're using HeyGen, which is an amazing tool. Everyone should try it out with your digital avatar. But apart from that, you can trust that this is a person talking about it. So I
Yeah.
think these are certain things you can do and build into your marketing campaigns and strategies for the future to be visible
Yeah.
on AI and get your brand into AI, not only into the results, but hopefully also into kind of the responses. And yeah, maybe his last question, and then I hand over to you, Tom, and maybe you can say some last words before we are coming to the end of this podcast. Is like, how will we even know if AI is recommending our brand? So that's the question he's asking, and I think in his article there, hopefully we can discuss this with Andy
Mm.
and bring
Mm.
more
Yeah.
insightful ideas there, or you can also mention
Mm.
some now because
Mm.
I think that's the valuable
Mm.
question. You know, you can only change what you can measure. That's my
Yeah.
saying that I always believed in, and that's also the reason why we built Otterly AI
Yeah.
to help you
Yeah.
monitor your brand in the new in the new future and the new era of AI-based searches. But
Yeah.
Tom, how can
Yeah.
I know that I'm recommended
Let
as
me
a
respond first to, let me give one comment to also summarize or put it differently what you're saying, because we started this conversation with the big disruptions in marketing, the big disruptions in search, right? But all the examples we've given you today are not particular new marketing techniques, right? I think we haven't touched any revolutionary new marketing technique. We spoke about content, we spoke about high quality content, we spoke about Wikipedia, we spoke about Reddit, user generated content. You mentioned now the whole topic of influencer marketing and how important it is to get your brand out there, be positioned, be it with influencers, traditional PR, product reviews, do all of that, right? I think all of those tactics are still valid in this new era, in this future of AI.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, how do we know what our baseline is, right? How do we know where to start? How do we know if our brand is mentioned there or not? Basically, anyone today has three options. You can do manual research, right? All of us can go to Google, can go to ChatGPT, Perplexity. We can use VPNs and test and see the results on different in different countries. We can do that manually, right? The hard part about that is it's manual, it's not scalable. I, as Thomas, have to do it every day, every week, every month to compare my progress and compare how my brand is visible or not visible. The second factor is you can trust external studies and sources that range from 2% AI overview triggers to 50% AI overview triggers. You can take and one of those percentage points, assume that for your own set of keywords and build your own, let's say, fake model on top of that to understand the impact those AI searches have. The other part is you can do everything automatically with Otterly, right? That's why we built Otterly. As marketers, we had that pain point to doing it manually or trusting some other research statistics. So we built Otterly to allow you by week perspective how your content visibility is performing, is changing on AI overviews, Perplexity, and ChatGPT, how your links and your link mentions are changing, and how your overall brand sentiment is changing. Because to my point earlier, I really believe that in this new future, in this new era of AI, we have to focus so much more on brand metrics, the typical brand metrics, right? Over link tracking, because it will become harder and harder for us to directly associate and attribute links going back to ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all the new other bots that might come up in the future. So yes, links are still relevant. You can track that also automatically with Otterly. But if I have one final tip today, please focus on your brand sentiment, your brand positions as a marketing team, because I think that's the new currency, the main currency that will matter in the future on those AI search engines. So yeah, those are my final tips,
So
Klaus.
true, Tom. So true. Thank you. I think there's nothing to add. That was a great ending of our podcast today. So, everybody who was listening, hopefully until the end, thanks a lot. And see you next week for the Otterly AI podcast with Tom Peham and Klaus M. Schremser.
See you,
Bye.
Klaus. Bye.